Welcome once again to another fantastic episode of EdTech on Deck, brought to you by your friendly folks at EdLeo, your premier K-12 communication solution. I am Dr. Roland Rios, EdLeo brand advocate, and I am absolutely thrilled. I know I say this every week, but tonight I'm thrilled and tickled and excited to have our guests with us tonight, talking about something that is taking the nation by storm. More and more high schools and middle schools are starting esports programs, and we have with us three guests that have started an incredible esports program at their school, Robert G. Cole Middle and High School in the Fort Sam Houston Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. In full disclosure, I just retired from education from the Fort Sam Houston Independent School District. I served as the principal at Robert G. Cole for 7 years and then finished my educational career serving as their tech director for 14 years. And when I wanted to bring esports to the table here on our EdTech on Deck podcast, I could think of no better group. And I'm saying this completely unbiased. Couldn't think of anybody better to have than the Robert G. Cole esports team. I'm just going to do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to have each one of them kind of introduce themselves. We have with us the secondary digital learning coach and esports coach, Mr. Wayseed Tobler. We have Cole Sr., the founder and president of the Cole esports team, Mr. Kevin Paul, and Cole Jr. and vice president of the esports team, Mr. Steven Berkner. Thank you guys for being here. If you could just each take a second or two to introduce yourselves, kind of tell us how long you've been at Cole at Fort Sam Houston, and Mr. Tobler, we'll kick things off with you.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Dr. Rios. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, sir.
Good, man. Looking good.
I'm trying.
As I said, my name is Wayseed Tobler. I am the secondary digital learning coach and esports sponsor at the fantastic Fort Sam Houston ISD. This is my 13th year in education. Actually started out as an English teacher before becoming a digital learning coach. And this is my 4th year serving the great students, middle school and high school students at Robert G. Cole Middle and High School.
Pleasure to have you, and it's great seeing you again, Mr. Tobler. Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Paul. I'm the founder and president of the Robert G. Cole High School Esports Club. And this is going to be my 4th and final year here at Cole, sadly. But I've had a great time here, and I can't wait to see where it goes after I leave.
Now, those of you watching on the live stream on video see that Kevin and I kind of have a similar setup. We're both in either a bedroom or study with a wall full of guitars hanging on the back wall and a microphone in front of us. The only difference is probably Kevin can actually play his guitars well. I tell people I can play all of these instruments very badly. Well, maybe mediocre at best. Mr. Berkner, Steven, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steven Berkner, and I'm the vice president of our Robert G. Cole esports program, alongside being a Super Smash Bros. Team captain and overall a huge supporter of our Cole Cougars. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Steven. Thanks for being here, buddy, and good seeing you again. I know Mr. Tobler has heard this expression before. Kevin, Steven, maybe you haven't, but in business and in schools, we have a little phrase that's called the elevator pitch. Whenever you're trying to tell somebody about something, you ask them to come up, what's your elevator pitch? And the whole idea is you step into an elevator, somebody sees these beautiful, and for our listening audience, you can't see, but they're wearing their esports jerseys that are just gorgeous. So those, what's esports all about? And you've got about 2 floors or about 2 minutes to tell them everything there is to know about esports. So I'll throw this over to you, Mr. Tobler. Give us, for our listeners that may not be super familiar with esports, give us the elevator pitch for what is esports.
Awesome. Yeah. So esports is competitive video game playing, but the definition that our students have really hammered out, and for education purposes, community of gamers and industry-facing support roles who come together to compete and share their passion and love for their favorite video games. It's that simple.
Say that again for us. I love that.
Sure. Community of gamers and industry-facing support roles.
Right there, community of gamers. Just the word community tells me so much about the approach you're taking to this esports. It doesn't start with the gaming. It starts with building a community. That's awesome. Go ahead. As I'll interrupt you every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Another thing we've been focusing on, industry-facing support roles, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as far as like what we have surrounding us now.
Sounds like you're building some needed skill sets that take these kids into the future, into future endeavors, even outside of esports.
You are. Yeah, we're doing something really, really cool. Coming together over the competition, right? But what we're learning, especially through our face-to-face competition, is the sharing of the passion, right? It's the competitors sitting together after the match is over and then playing a few more matches, right? And so there's a sense of real community and just togetherness that we've come to really love. So yeah, that's our elevator pitch.
That's amazing. I mean, I know that it sounded almost scripted. And I don't mean to say that, but it sounds like you guys have actually had this conversation before. What are we about? And so, if
Absolutely.
I imagine if I had asked Kevin or Steven that question, they probably would have given me the same elevator pitch. Was that Kevin, or do you kind of make sure that all the kids in the group understand what you're about? It sounds like a mission statement.
Yes. We always talk about it and orientation at the beginning of the year, the end of year, and all the students really know that this is a community that anyone can be a part of, and people are always bringing their friends. And actually, um, they just bring people like their friends from all the other classes too, and new people are always showing up at the club. It's very healthy growth.
Yeah, very welcoming community. Awesome. Take us back. I was actually there when this thing kind of got started. As I mentioned, I was the tech director there, and esports was kind of up and coming. But honestly, I didn't have the background knowledge that I needed to start an esports program. I think I just hired Mr. Tobler or was in the process of it, but I still didn't have everything that I needed in my back pocket to get this off the ground. And lo and behold, it was about 4 years ago, a little freshman named Kevin had an idea. Take us through that whole process 3-4 years ago, Kevin, when this came to you and the steps you took to get this going.
So it all started when I noticed there was kind of a trend at Cole. So this was happening when everyone had Nintendo Switches, everyone was playing video games, and I noticed everyone was playing them, but there was no club or medium or anywhere they could really compete or meet people with similar interests. So they were just kind of doing this off to the side, and even sometimes during class time, which isn't good for obviously academics. You don't want to be playing video games during school. That's going to hurt grades. You need an outlet where kids can meet with people with similar interests. So I thought back to my time, since we're on a military base. I'm a military child myself, so I've lived in a lot of different places. When I was living in Atlanta, I thought back to the esports teams there, and I realized that, hey, why don't we just start something like that at our school? So I started talking to my friends, and they said, that's a really good idea. You should talk to one of your teachers. So I talked to one of my homeroom teacher, Mr. Control, and he was on board with it. So I got connected to Mr. Tobler and you, Dr. Rios, and it kind of took off from there.
That's amazing. That's true student ownership. I mean, this really did come from you, and I think you pitched it to the principal at the
Yes.
time. I think you went to the principal first. I kind of bounced that off her. Obviously, the program has grown. Stephen, talk to us about how many people you've got in the club. Where are these people coming from?
Well, right about now, we have about 45 people, and it's only growing from there. We have a lot of different people coming into the club who, aren't just gamers, but per se just kind of have an experience with a lot of different things in school. We have photographers, videographers. We have people who are good at planning. We have people from military backgrounds, or people whose teachers, whose parents just go and teach there. And overall, it's just a burgeoning community where everyone can go in, see what they want in the program, and get what they want out of the program.
That's amazing. And just to put this in context for listeners that aren't really familiar with the school, Stephen said they have 45 members. The Cole, Robert G. Cole High School, and this is only open to high school right now. Is that correct? This is a high school
That's correct.
organization.
Correct.
You only have about 400 high school students total. Is that correct? So,
Yes, sir.
so I mean, you've got over 10% of your population in one club, one organization. That's pretty huge. That is big. There seems to be, and I kind of pause because I want to make sure I say this without offending anybody. When people think about video games, at least when I was, and I think you know where I'm coming from, that there sometimes is a stereotypical idea of what a gamer is. He's that guy that sits in his room, in the dark room, all by himself, kind of a loner, socially awkward kind of thing that just plays games. That's not the case anymore, is it? Stephen, you kind of alluded to it. So pick up from where you were. You said they're not all gamers. They come from different backgrounds. Tell us about the variety of kids you have in the group.
Well, we're definitely overall breaking that stereotype, even as the industry kind of goes forward. As for myself and Kevin, we are both pretty much top of our class in a lot of things. We do stuff outside of the program. For one, can say that I'm the S3 for our JRTC program in HOSA, and outside, Kevin is involved in student council and so many other organizations. And overall, a lot of us are go-getters. We're not just the guy who's huddled up in his room playing a game on a Saturday night. We're people who go out, do things, volunteer, help our communities, and overall just want to make a positive impact on our campus. It's kind of returning to back where video games even started. A bunch of scientists in a room playing with Pong after taking a break from work. It's honestly great to see.
So you said Pong. I know that one. I know that one. Kevin alluded to this because I want our audience to understand a little bit more about Robert G. Cole and Fort Sam Houston ISD in particular. You are a public school district in the state of Texas, but you're not a typical public school district. You've got something very unique going about. Mr. Tolbert, tell us about the population that Fort Sam Houston Independent School District serves.
Yeah, so our boundaries are actually coterminous with the Fort Sam Houston military installation. And so we have about 88% of our students that are military dependents, and the other 12% of that, give or take a few, really make up teachers' children, right? People that are bringing employees that are bringing their kids onto post and going to school there. And so with that infusion of that community, there is just a sense of kinship that these kids share. Unfortunately, it does cause a lot of high mobility, right? So kids are constantly coming and going. Kevin being there for 4 years, Stephen there being there for a number of years. It's actually fairly rare for a kid to be there for that long of a time. And so in addition to that, Fort Sam has BAMC, the Brooke Army Medical Center, and they do a lot of work with the burn. They have the burn unit and the Wounded Warrior Project and things like that as well. And so even a lot of the parents represent a medical community, and there's just a lot of just extremely talented and brilliant children there. And so having that military, there's just this thread of honor and integrity, a lot of respect of their peers. And so I tell them all the time, they make things easy, right? They're easy to work with because they're extremely mature. Kevin is well-traveled. Stephen is very well-traveled, and they have seen so much in their short lives. And I just have a lot of respect for our Cole and Fort Sam Houston, because it's like we represent all of the good things of school, but there's just this core of military community that they all share, and it builds a very between them.
Well, and what a great part that I'm sure esports plays in that. You talk about mobility. The military kids, on average, move every 2 to 3 years. To be able to come in and be just welcomed by Kevin and Stephen and the rest of the team and yourself, Mr. Tober, and say, hey, if you need a place to hang out, come hang out with us. We're right here and we're open to you. So many times when they move from place to place, they don't have a sense of belonging. And I'm sure the Cole Esports organization is giving them that sense of belonging. So kudos to you for serving this special population. And Kevin and Stephen, thank you for the service that you provide. I can't talk about this without getting emotional. I apologize. I was there for 21 years and it still chokes me up because military kids.
Military children serve too.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Kevin, along those lines, and Mr. Tilbert kind of hit on this, there's some disadvantages to having that military connected community. You may have the greatest Rocket League player in the world, and dad gets orders and he's gone the next day. I mean, it could be that quick. But I'm sure there's some advantages too. Talk about what special skill sets does that military connectedness bring to the kids that they bring to your esports program?
Well, we all have common experiences. First of all, we all know what it's like to live on a military base. We all know what it's like to have military parents, have parents that's deployed. It's really easy to connect with each other. No one really just hate someone for being different because we're all different. We're from everywhere. It's really unique in that way. Military kids are a really diverse population that you just don't see anywhere else. And yeah, I don't see that happening with any other population, really.
Yeah, it is very unique. Stephen, anything to add to that?
I perfectly agree with what he said. Just generally, it's a lot of different perspectives that come in and some that shift out. And overall, just like any other company, business, or even an esports team, it kind of gives you a new perspective and new goals to work on in the future.
Awesome. Let's talk about the esports team itself. Most people think that all you do is sit around and play games. And Stephen, you alluded to this earlier. You actually have, I'm sure, the defined set of roles. You've got a president in Kevin. You've got a vice president with you, Stephen. What are some of the other roles that you have? I'm curious. Do you have anybody in the club that doesn't play games at all? So talk to us about some of those different roles and responsibilities that you guys have established.
First and foremost, what we aim as a club to do is have our players and just people in the club gain experience, whether it be in leadership or in the fields that they choose to pursue. We have currently our photographer who doesn't play games per se and is trying to get into it, but at the same time, she delivers the most excellent of work. And without her, I don't think we would have half of the public or media attention that we do. And aside from that, we have other roles such as our awesome community manager, Tyson Wiley, our wonderful social media expert.
I'm going to slow you down just a little bit, Steve. What does a community manager do? Is that
A community manager is a little bit between a secretary and a professional hype man. They kind of help. Yeah, they in our own kind of circle, they help us to keep morale up on our Discord, which is how we do our networking, and outside help to publish kind of what we goes on our Cole news and just generally what is seen out by the public.
Are they the ones handling your social media, or is that a different position?
That's a different position filled by the wonderful Mrs. Tanakba, who helps to create
Oh,
posters. Who helps to create posters and different kind of designs that help us to spread our message out, especially with our upcoming fundraiser, which is this Friday. And aside from that, we also have our hardware manager, who is also a team captain of Halo, the wonderful Lucas Trudell, who helps us to essentially make sure that after every club meeting, after every practice, and every get-together, that all of our computers and equipment are safe, secure, and professionally done.
We also can't forget about our website manager, David Rodriguez. He designed the whole website without even telling us. And he just gave it to us like, here's the website. You can have it.
That's amazing.
And I was just so shocked by that because it just goes to show that esports isn't just about gaming. It's everything STEM. It connects to everything. We have kids from computer science, cyber patriot, Dell Tech crew, all those sorts of things are all connected. Everyone can connect through this medium of esports.
What have you learned in your role as president, Stephen, your role as vice president, that you think is going to you're going to take with you? Not gaming, but just in your roles, what takeaways are you going out of Cole with?
Well, generally, being vice president has really taught me that kind of boots on the ground leadership is some of the best ways to go when it comes to a lot of things. I love pretty much every day going and attending the practices and the meetings that we have every Wednesday and just going and talking to people. It's really inspiring, and you get to talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, get to know them, and kind of get to know how a team will work together. And kind of outside of that, it also teaches me kind of the importance of STEM and esports as a field, because much like all the other activities that we have on Cole campus, esports is tied to the school and it's tied to everything else. We have half of our members are in JTC, the other half are in Cyber Patriots, and all of them are still working together and making sure that we can be as a team. So generally, teamwork and leadership are some of the greatest takeaways I've had from the program.
Great answer, Stephen. Kevin?
Thank you.
I think participation is half the battle as a leader. As a leader, you must be there. If you're not, it's not going to be successful. Once you're there, people can associate a face with the club or your organization. If you're not there, what are they going to see? It's not going to work out. So if you're there talking to people, then you're already halfway there. So
Awesome.
I got to brag on these guys real quick.
Yeah,
Dr.
absolutely.
Rios.
Yes.
What Kevin just said about being a participatory leader. I've seen both of these gentlemen step up so much, especially here recently. We're really getting into the competitive side of things, and the face-to-face tournaments are on Saturdays. A lot of our upperclassmen, they're starting to work. They're starting to get part-time jobs, and so getting that Saturday off when they're competing with everybody else wants to get Saturday off has been kind of difficult. And so Stephen and Kevin on numerous occasions have stepped in and actually played games that they either hadn't played many years or hadn't played ever. And their leadership in that regard and being that example to be able to step in and then also be successful. Kevin has stepped up twice for our Valorant team. And this past weekend, his brother, Ethan, who is our stream manager, also stepped in. Steven was waiting on the bench to step in as well. We had a kid that got sick the morning of the tournament before we got on the bus to leave. And they ended up having a winning record on Saturday because of Kevin and his brother. They ended up playing to a 3-to-1 ratio, in a 5-game or 4-game set. And our team captains see that, our other club members see that, and they do it so selflessly because Kevin took 4 finals today. He brings his computer on Saturday and is working, constantly on college work and things like that. Steven is also very involved in other extracurriculars, and so for them to give up all of their time on a Saturday, on first of all, and then step in knowing full well that they should be in a corner studying real quick for all the finals that they have this week, goes a long way. And I think that that's a huge contributor to our growth because they see the leadership, they see their leaders playing the games, they see their leaders cheering each other on, they see their leaders being a part of the club and not just standing back kind of with their arms crossed. And Steven in particular with his work as a captain for Super Smash. Super Smash is a very difficult game. It's very intricate. There's a lot of moves and a lot of different things that can happen at any given time. And Steven, and along with our co-captain Gio, I've seen him, just that coaching piece. And so very well said by Kevin, and very well great answer from Steven as well, because these two guys really exemplify everything we're looking for with that community leadership, right? Just the upperclassmen in general, but just good leadership qualities.
Yeah, but what both of the boys described, both of the young men described is what we refer to as servant leadership. You guys
Absolutely.
are there. You're not there for the praise. You're not there for the glory. You're there to serve your organization. And as leaders, you're taking on any responsibility that might come your way. Very proud of what you guys have done. Stephen, by default, do you become president next year, or do you have to run for that office? Is this?
I'm going to be running for that office, because everyone needs to have a fair chance, because there's some people who might be rising stars who want to pursue the position for years and just generally need to step up to that mantle. And of course, I'm hoping that I get it, but I won't be disappointed because no matter what happens, I'll be able to kind of help the program grow and expand and be there as a helping hand every step of the way.
I was about to say, I wish I was as mature as you are when I was your age. And then I realized I wish I was as mature as you are right now. That's an incredible attitude, Stephen. Unbelievable. Mr. Tobler, you talked about the competition. A lot of listeners may not be, they know esports, you play games, you do something. Walk us through what a competition entails. How do the teams get matched? What's going on? You mentioned streaming, and I know you've used the term shoutcasting before.
Yes,
give us the esports competitions for dummies version here.
Yeah, great question. So I have to give a lot of credit to Region 20 Premier Esports League, which is the esports program run through the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology. It's our SAMSAT league, because they are teaching us each and every Saturday the ins and outs of the question that you just asked. And then we're kind of taking that and we're trying to replicate that in very small ways. So the first and foremost, it's selecting your game titles. That's a big thing. And right now through SAMSAT, we have 6 competitive teams through the club. And we have 3 teams that compete at SAMSAT. And then one of the things that has become a little bit of a nuance for me is understanding all the different genres within those games as well, and how they provide a different experience for the kids. So the first part of that answer is we have Super Smash, which is a one-on-one. and is a platform fighter. So you select your fighter, and then you're playing on a platform, and the whole point of the game is to, and Steven's probably going to totally be like, dude, what are you even talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Is to knock your opponent off out of the ring, right? And with a smash, right? And so that's one. And so the second one is Rocket League, which is soccer with rocket cars. And there are it's a very simplified way of putting it, because to play the game is actually very intricate, and there are a number of kids in our club that can do some things that would just make a math teacher kind of salivate, because there's a lot of physics involved, and you can do all kinds of math with what goes on. And that's a 3-on-3. And then we have Valorant. And that is our first person shooter, but it is sci-fi based, so it's more stylized. And that's something that, you say first person shooter and people kind of, that is what we were talking about earlier with the stereotype and this kind of some of the stigmas. But that is actually a 5-on-5. And so one of the things that I'm learning as an esports sponsor is that I am much more like a athletic coordinator, and the students are more like the individual coaches, because I don't know how to play all these games. I would love to. I don't have the time to, and a lot of times I don't have the skill to play those games. But that's where we really rely on Steven and then our other team captains and things like that to represent the structure. So that's the games that we play. And then when you go into the tournaments, it's really to kind of lean on the sports analogies. It's like a track meet, and the kids are put into brackets, and then especially for Smash, those brackets are called, and the kids go up to the station and they play their match. And if they win, then they get called back. And if they lose, they go to a different bracket, and they may have to wait, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to play in the other bracket. And then with our rule sets, it's a number of eliminations per day. And then, they split the bracket up. And so the Smash provides kind of more of that March Madness style of where it's, you've got 80 something kids playing on a Saturday, and they usually give them about five matches just to gain their points. Same thing with Rocket League. It's a best of 7. And then the rounds for Rocket League are about 5 minutes. And so they play a best of 7. And then with Valorant, Kevin, you're going to have to help me on that, because I'm still not super keen on Valorant matches last 45 minutes, y'all. Like these things are no joke, and they play round after round. So Kevin, I'm going to have to defer to your expertise there. Explain the Valorant structure for us.
So Valorant is a lot like CSGO. How do I explain this?
CSGO is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, for those that don't know. It's a very, would you say it's kind of the original first-person shooter as far as kind of competitive gaming goes?
I would say maybe, I would almost say Quake on that. I probably
Or even
forgetting something.
Even Doom with the original LAN parties hooked up.
Doom.
That's a good point. That's a fair point.
Original.
What else?
So you have the defensive team and you have the offensive team, and it's split into halves where you're acting as the defenders and the offensive team, and each character has abilities that they can utilize to help your team. Like some characters have walls, or some characters have, I don't want to get this wrong because I don't play Valorant as much as some of the other team members, and I know they'll probably be watching the stream.
At this point, you could say anything, and I would believe you, Kevin.
Kevin, can we just frame that into like each character has their own class, offense, defense, support with healing and medics and things like that. But correct me if I'm wrong, you can only have one particular class on the field at a time. Is that right? So you can't have like 2 healers. You can't have one offense. Or,
you can have one of the same character, or only one of the same character, but you can have multiple of the same class. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So obviously, a lot of rules, a lot of things you've got to remember. You got to make sure you're playing the games right. How are you guys doing record-wise? Do esports teams get ranked, or what's the final outcome from these things?
I'm glad you asked.
Uh-oh. Something good must have happened.
So
lay it on them, Steven. Let them know.
Recently, we just competed at the December SAMSAT tournament, which closes out the first half. SAMSAT,
I'm
which
I'm
is
I'm getting a little bit of audio breakup. Is that you guys or just me? Was everything
Say
sounding
again,
good for you
Steven.
guys?
I hear
Okay.
it.
sorry about
Crackle
that.
just a little bit.
Mhm. All right, so we just conclude our first half of the SAMSAT season for this year at our December tournament, and at that tournament we took house essentially. For our Valorant standings, we are currently number 6 out of 16 people for that tournament. For Super Smash Brothers, 2 of our players got to the top 16 of pretty much 80 players in the tournament overall. Those being Giovanni Lopez at number 10 and Jonas Amos at 15. And Rocket League, we are currently number 7 in that tournament. So we're definitely clean house and taking names while we do it.
Awesome. We had a little trouble with your audio there, Stephen, but from what I understood, you guys are in the top 7 or 8 in 3 different areas. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
number 6 for Valorant. Rocket League is number 7, and we have 2 kids that are in the top 16. And the cool thing about the way that SAMSAT does their Smash tournament is that they break out each tournament into a top 16 and then pool play. So and it's very brilliant to do it that way, because then all of your top tier kids are playing top tier, so that they're not just running the table on people like me that would just get in there and very stupidly just mash buttons. And so it really creates a competitive edge that allows the point system to kind of work for the kids' benefit. And then one of the things I really love about the SAMSAT is that they're actually going to be dropping the kids' 3 lowest scores. And so you take a Saturday after a long week, or you have to go to work, or you got stuff on your mind, and you just don't really play that well. You can kind of let it go a little bit more. So there's that sense of grit. We want them learning from their mistakes, and we want them to respond to failure, but not be drugged down, and so that they get so discouraged that they quit playing altogether. So that kind of exemplifies a lot of our teams, is that we just keep going, and they're starting to see results, and that's been great.
That's absolutely amazing. Now I know in being in the state of Texas, and I'm sure other states around the country follow suit, is in a lot of competitions, say football, baseball, basketball, they divide schools by their size. So you're not playing giant schools, you're playing schools with basically the same population as yours, the same pool to choose from. That's not happening in esports, is it? You're playing little Robert G. Cole with 400 kids is probably playing a school that has 4,000 kids to choose from, and you're still going in there and doing well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The regional thing is kind of becoming a conversation in the SAMSAT circle, because we have about 18 schools that are coming out, and that reaches all the way down south. I mean, all the cardinal directions of San Antonio is coming together, and they're going to be expanding into middle school in the spring potentially, and that'll create a middle school exclusive bracket. But yeah, you're exactly right, and that's kind of an interesting thing to really think about, because with each individual game format, we've got this guy that goes to Steele High School. He goes by the handle of Toast. And this kid is like, he's kind of a local legend. He walks into the ring, and we've got our Smash kids going, oh,
And everyone else is Toast, huh?
yeah. I think he does that
Basically.
purposefully, And so it's an interesting phenomenon. We've got, you say, like Ronaldo, right? Or Aaron Judge, and people, it's name recognition. These guys have their gamer tags, and they're just so clever with the way that they do that. And it just kind of builds in this layer of irony that it's almost undeniable that there's this marketability around them that we just kind of find funny, and they truly are kind of the talk of our program, and we kind of all follow each other on social media now, and it's just a great community to be a part of.
Well, you mentioned, like Toast's marketability. You said it's almost funny, but at the same time, very serious. A part of that there, Mr. Tober, is my understanding is there's a lot of colleges now with esports teams, and kids are getting scholarships to go to college to play esports. So they're getting, at least a partial tuition reimbursement, or maybe free rides to go study, maybe computer science, or maybe become teachers or whatever, all under the premise that they're going to play in these esports college leagues. Have you? I believe you had a scholarship last year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, we did. Yeah, Leo, he was our Overwatch guy. and he actually went to McMurray. And Matt Tarpley out there is a great coach. He made the drive all the way from Lubbock, and man, we put on a show for this kid. I mean, we wanted to really exemplify, just the legitimacy of our program, and we had a signing day for him. And his mom, and I talked a lot afterwards, and we continue to keep up. And you're talking about a highlight of somebody's school career, and just like a lifelong memory that they were able to make. I wish we had the ability to share, to show you a picture of how many kids turned up for that. And it was, we have a little mall area.
We'll post a picture in the show notes. We'll get that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. And it was just packed. And so, our athletic department was gracious enough to give us their backdrop, and we had a tablecloth, and we live streamed it out, and it was just a really, really cool moment. And that's kind of my goal. The kids have done so much hard work, and the club is running so well with them as leaders. I actually get to kind of take a step back now and do a lot more of the marketing for them. And my goal is to, Kevin, we've got 8 seniors this year, which is just a staggering number to me, that are going to be moving on to programs. And my primary goal is scholarships, pinging these coaches. And as Steven mentioned earlier, the support roles too, is we're seeing a lot more scholarships come up for support roles. People that are familiar with streaming equipment, OBS Studio, the Elgato suite with the Stream Decks, and setting those up. Understanding Kevin is extremely good with the bit rate and getting all of that optimized so that our streams look nice and sharp. The media, the graphics, the social media. If you're out there and you're a tech director, or you're a superintendent, or you're a school leader, these are kids that are developing real world skills. It's just like the NFL or pro sports. Only about 1% of the kids will ever go pro in esports, and there's an even smaller time frame where they can be successful at the professional level. Our goal is to get those get our kids the skills so that they can put down on a resume, I've run social media for our esports team. They have a portfolio that shows their graphic designs they made for our promotional materials. These are tangible skills that the kids can get jobs for. And I tell the kids all the time, and I'm not saying this to knock our food service industry in any way, shape, or form, but wouldn't you rather go work, part-time as an intern for social media, getting paid, even by the post, or $18 an hour, instead of going and working at Subway and making the same sandwich, for 8 hours a day? And so there's this sense that it accelerates their prospects, essentially. And it's just really interesting to see these college programs starting to reach into the broadcast, into the support roles, and offering scholarships for that. And a lot of them don't even really care if you're, a part of an esports tract. I mean, and a lot of these programs don't really offer a tract. A lot of computer science, you could be a history major, and They just want people to come and again, build those skills and take a shot. And that's something that we've seen a lot of. Our Texas A&M University of San Antonio, I have to shout out them. Their esports club are all the volunteers that run our SAMSAT tournaments. Their coach, Aaron Jaggers, is a phenomenal coach. He sources from K through 12 education. He's there calling the names for the brackets every single Saturday. They've got people that will run the streaming and shoutcasting booth, which is basically just audio commentary color commentary over the games. They pull kids. They'll walk through Techport, and they're just like, you look like you have a face that would go on screen. You want to do some shot casting? The kid's like, oh, I don't know. They're like, get into the booth, and they've got a huge green screen set up. And so we've had a lot of our own kids like Tyson and Diego that they come out and they're just grinning from ear to ear, and they're like, that was fun. I didn't know I could do that. And then they're hooked. And so, I just really want to emphasize, to those that are listening out there, it is so much more than just sitting in a room and playing video games. It's the coaching, it's the support roles. We're giving these kids real world skills. And that's something that as an educator, you can't get much. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, that's what you strive for every single day in the classroom.
That's what we're there for. Yeah. Guys, it's so evident that you're passionate about this, and you have every reason to be. You've created a very successful program in what I consider a short period of time to be at the level that you guys are at in basically 3 years, 3.5 years is amazing. And the fact you started this during a pandemic to boot. So let's not forget that is when you kicked it off, all of a sudden you're trying to start a brand new program and do it remotely. Running short on time, guys. Last question is, and we may have some listeners out there that have kind of thought about this, pondering maybe should we. What one sage piece of advice would you give teachers, students, administrators who are thinking about starting an esports program? Stephen, we'll start with you.
Well, when you're going to start an esports program, get a good team together. Get people who you can trust, who can do things, and that you can delegate tasks to, who know what they're doing, and who are able to use all their skills and dedicate towards the club, and get those people on your team. Because those people, through thick and thin, are going to be there whenever the club is down on membership, needs more funding, or something breaks down, and they're going to say, "Where's my hammer, and where can I fix it?" It's honestly amazing to just have a good team together who can just come and help. And overall, when the going gets tough, you need that group of people.
Amazing answer. Kevin, let's see you follow that one up there.
Like I said before, you need to be participating. You need to be starting the meetings early, and you need to have them regularly. And building on what Steven said, you need to delegate, delegate, delegate. At the beginning, when we were just starting out without any of the officer positions, it was really difficult. Like trying to write all the planning documents, trying to write the charter, which Mr. Tobler basically just wrote most of. Mr. Tobler, thank you for coming in clutch with that, because that was okay. But once we got the officer positions in place, it just started rolling and didn't stop. And as officers have kind of like moved away, new ones have come to fill the positions, and it's been a healthy life cycle of new people coming in, filling those roles, learning from the roles, and then becoming leaders. So
awesome. Mr. Tobler, we'll round things up with you.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I think Steven might actually have nailed down our hashtag, because "Where's my hammer" just has an epic ring to it, man. That was so well said. I would say, and Dr. Rios, I have to give you just a lot of love for your mentorship these last few years and hiring me out, because I came into my role with the mindset that when you let the kids do it, things are gonna be it's magic, right? And I definitely took after that. You let me run with it, and so mine is just a catchphrase now, right? It's my educational philosophy: let the kids do it. Right? There's a lot of it, paperwork and stuff like that. You can do all that, but you let the kids run the show, and they're gonna blow your socks off. And I love these kids as if they were my own, and I have got so much respect for these two gentlemen in particular, and all of our club members. And so, yeah, let the kids do it. You're going to have a great time, because we have fun, man. We have so much fun in our club.
And I have been blessed to be on the peripheral of that fun and watch the program grow. I miss you guys so much. It has been an absolute pleasure visiting with you, Stephen, Kevin, Mr. Tobler. Keep up the amazing work. Kevin, go after those scholarships. If somebody doesn't pick you up quick, they're fools, because you're a treasure to be found. And Stephen, you'll be in that position next year. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Listeners and viewers, we thank you for tuning in to another episode of EdTech on Deck. We will put links to all of this wonderful work the kids are doing in our show notes. We ask you to subscribe to EdTech on Deck on your favorite podcast media channel. And until then, we will not have another episode in 2022. We know the winter break is right around the corner. So what a great way to end the 2022 podcast season. We will see you guys back in early January. Once again, thank you all for viewing and listening to Ed Leo's EdTech on Deck. Good night, everybody.